Hi, welcome back to Deep Images. We are here to tell you about strange love stories. We have been covering movies that are unconventional, off the beaten path, taboo, looks at romance, to where you have people, two entities, who are in love, but they are frustrated because of their environment or their identities or strange circumstances. So we're going to continue on that theme and Rhiannon has a very controversial recent one for us. I'm excited.
I'm gonna do Joker too. The thing is, the controversial thing about this movie is because it was a flop, okay? And that's what they're saying. They're saying Joker 2 was a flop. Folie à deux, okay? But the fact that they call it a flop, I kind of got more interested to watch it. I'm like, I'm
Right,
more interested in watching a flop because it's probably art. It's
right.
probably art,
I'm with
you
you.
know.
I understand.
Probably bad art.
That was my reasoning. That's my reasoning. That's
Hmm.
why I thought, I have to review this because I watched lots of reviews on this film after I went to see it with my
Oh,
boyfriend and his brother.
hmm.
So we went to see it together in the cinema, and it was cinematically beautiful.
Hmm.
It was absolutely gorgeous. And we went in and we didn't have any expectations going into the film.
Yeah, that's probably
We
good.
were we were there to just watch it. We're like, hey, Joker 2 is out. Let's watch it. Let's go. And I think that's probably the best thing to do with most movies when you go to the cinema.
Hmm.
Don't read reviews. Whatever you do, don't
Yeah, I
read
pretty much
reviews because they're
stopped.
going to put you off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't go off
yeah.
reviews.
Like the mixed reviews, at first, one review was it was a great performances by the leading actors. Lady Gaga stars as one of the main protagonists, and then Joaquin Phoenix is the other. And the pair of them are in a folie à deux, which means a shared delusion. So they
I didn't
shared
know that until
a
you told me
delusion
that.
together.
I
And I,
actually didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I know French, but
yeah,
I didn't bother to look that one up. So cool.
yeah. It's a phrase, a folie à deux, of
Very
like
cool.
two
Like a
people
menage a
sharing.
trois.
Yes, indeed.
I like
Cool.
that.
It could be. Yes,
That
it
alone is going
depends.
to go over a lot of people's heads, though. That
Yeah,
subtitle.
but but the whole thing is that we go deep here, so that's what we're doing. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Sure.
That's what we're doing. So it starts off, it's Warner Brothers films, and it's directed by Todd Phillips. And I really feel that he did a great job. It's a very sensitively done film. And I think a lot of people didn't like Joker 2 because it was a love story and it didn't talk about Batman and it wasn't really,
Right.
it was kind of separate from Batman. And I think that that's what got under people's skin. It was an extremely deep love story. I mean, the way I look at it is that it was a sort of like a really deep dive into the psychology of people who are mentally unwell. So it
Like,
was two people who are mentally unwell
like the
in
first
love with
one,
each other.
which was one.
Yeah. And so when people say it doesn't make sense, well, a lot of mentally unwell people don't make very much sense
And
unless you
True.
look
a
into
lot of
their
mentally
trauma.
well people don't make sense when they're in love. So put the two
Yeah,
together.
yeah, yeah. But you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
it's like they're in love. There's two people they're in love, but for a delusional reason.
Hmm.
So that I'm not discounting the fact that they're in love, but it's definitely they're both definitely not in their right mind. But at the same time, there's a lot of truth that can be like that is brought to light through mental
Hmm.
illness as well. So I know what you're saying, Henry, and I understand what you're saying in that respect. Um, it's a
Thanks.
beautifully shot film. It's a beautifully shot film, but it starts off with a cartoon, and the cartoon is kind of like an overview of the whole film and the whole point of the film, where Arthur Fleck comes in all dressed up in the Joker costume. He's about to do a show on stage, and he's a crooner type character. He goes behind the backstage. He's doing his makeup, and then the his shadow knocks him out puts him into the closet, and then the Joker takes over, puts the makeup. The shadow puts on its makeup and goes out onto the stage. And the Joker is dancing with his shadow, or Arthur Fleck is dancing with his shadow. And then the police come in and then they beat him to death or whatever. Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Pretty young Ian.
And it's,
I think you mentioned that to
yeah.
me before, him dancing with his
Mm-hmm.
shadow.
Oh, yeah, it's very young, Ian,
Yeah.
indeed. And then we get, it's kind of like,
Oh, yeah.
so
It
that's
is
the
Warner
sort of
Brothers.
start.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the kind of vibe at the start.
Oh yeah, the Looney Tunes esque.
Merry
Yeah.
Melodies, Looney Tunes. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how we start it, and then it's after the cops with their batons beat the Joker up. Then it zooms out, and then we're into Arkham State Hospital, and it's all really dark and kind of similar to Henry Covert's the color on his
Oh,
screen,
right.
kind of
Yeah.
dark, kind of dark, dark, kind of blue, sort of.
Yeah, monochromatic.
Yeah, very beautiful. So that's basically that's the overall vibe of the film when we come out of the cartoon, and then we're brought right into the hell that Arthur Fleck is living. And Arthur Fleck lives in this Arkham State Hospital, and Brendan Gleeson is a man from Dublin, the place where I was born. So Brendan Gleeson is in this film. So we're very proud of our actors in Ireland. Because Harry Gleeson, anyway, he's kind of he plays a really kind of villainous sort of it's it's not a prison, but Arkham State Hospital is run like a prison, so it's like he's a prison
It
guard.
is like, yeah,
Uh,
it's like a hospital
and
and jail.
That's it, exactly. And as we know, that Arthur Fleck from the first movie, he killed 5 people.
Hmm.
So that's why he's in this Arkham State Hospital. He killed 5 people. Um, and so I guess they recognize that he's mentally unwell. So that's why they put him in the Arkham State Hospital. So from that perspective, um, yeah, he's being held in this facility until he's being called to trial for these murders.
Well, they're not going to let him go or have bond or bail because he has just created a movement, a violent movement within the
Uh-huh.
city. So,
Mm-hmm. An
yeah,
anarchist movement.
he's now a political
Yeah,
prisoner in a way.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He is. That's true. So we see Arthur Fleck coming out of his. It looks like a cell, like his, where he lives or whatever, and he looks like Christian Bale in The Machinist. He's skinny and scrawny, and he looks really unwell. It's clear the man is unwell. He's very unwell.
Uh-huh.
And they ask him, "Do you have a joke for us?" And he's gone really quiet, and he's become non-verbal because he's not surrounded by people who are kind of pushing his Joker identity. I think that's why he's quiet at the start of the film,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
he's kind of gotten more self-reflective time to kind of look at, to be in Arthur Fleck world rather than Joker world. So
Right.
the outside world
Yeah.
fuels that, I think. I think the outside world fuels his Joker persona. Yeah, so they bring him to clean him up so that he can talk to his lawyer, and they cut his face while he's shaving, while they shave him, and they blame him on the fact that they cut his face,
Sounds like a
which
prison.
just shows, yeah, it's the sort of thing that would make anybody insane. And the
Mhm.
world is full of those moments for people where people get scapegoated all the time for random stuff, and it's the world is a bit mental. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way people don't take accountability for their stuff and blame it on other people and projections. Then I think Brendan Gleeson's character Jackie, who plays Jackie Sullivan, is the name of his character, and he tells a really terrible joke. You know, you can just see that he just thinks he's the bee's knees. You know, telling this terrible joke about a Catholic dog, and you know, but Brendan Gleeson knows exactly what he's doing. You know, he knows exactly. He probably asked to tell that terrible joke. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "I'll tell this terrible joke. I know these kind of bollockses, shall we
Right.
say, an
Mhm.
Irish word, Dublin curse word. Um, I know that kind of bollocks, so I'm gonna pretend to be that kind of bollocks. So yeah, so I got a chuckle out of that. It's very Irish sense of humor. Uh, just that kind of somebody who doesn't even know how annoying he is.
Oh yeah. I think we all know
That
people
kind
like
of a
that.
character. So after that scene, then we get introduced to Lady Gaga's character, Lee Quinn, Lee Quinzel, and she is at in the music therapy room, and she sees Arthur just before he's about to get brought down to the lawyer, and she just looks at him and she goes. So it's just
Which
a
is
very
from
impactful moment. You say.
Taxi Driver toward the very end.
Mm-hmm,
Yep.
mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
the first movie, I mean, it was like a love poem to Scorsese.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. It did it in the first movie too.
So yeah, it harkens back to the first movie. So, and yeah, so then that just shows that they're both kind of like enthralled by each other's presence, and
Mm.
it's when they first see each other. So then we go down to see Catherine Keener, who plays Mary Ann Stewart.
Great
Uh,
actress.
yeah, she's incredible. She's really down to earth in this movie, and I love it because you need somebody who's an anchor, and if anybody is an anchor in this movie, it's Catherine Keener.
Mm.
She's earthy and she's real, and she says it how it is, and she sympathizes with Arthur Fleck. Like she says, "Okay, when you were a kid, your mother abused you. Is it possible, Arthur Fleck, that that abuse that you suffered when you were a kid split your personality into, like you created a second personality, a shadow personality
Hmm.
to live out of, to speak for you instead of
Mhm.
your wounded actual self, Arthur Fleck, and that your wounded self was just so wounded that you needed this character to talk for you, and it was more brazen because it's a Joker, it's a personality, so it's kind of like it has more balls, shall we say, to
Yeah.
say the things perhaps than that
That
you
he
wouldn't say
and you know what that reminds me
normal.
of? A much hated movie that I personally love, which is Ang Lee's Hulk,
Yeah,
because it's all about abuse and trauma and how this monster builds up inside you, and then some crazy, scientific thing happens because your dad's injecting you with crazy chemicals, and then that comes out, So, but yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting, and I think that shadow self is in a lot of comic book characters, obviously, villains and
yeah.
heroes.
Well, it is true though. I think that this actually does happen in real life, and that's what I
Mhm.
love about this movie is that actually it's it's quite compassionate towards abuse victims and
Mhm.
their suffering and what they go through, and perhaps how they deal with it, and maybe perhaps how they don't deal with things particularly well.
Right.
You know, um.
I must go to the
So
restroom. Please
no
continue
way.
unabated.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Okay.
So then they bring him in to another lady, and another lady is talking about, I've forgotten this character's name, and also her who plays her, which is terrible of me. Um, but there was just so many details in the movie that I breezed past this character. But
Yeah.
she was basically doing the same thing as Catherine Keener's character. She was asking uh, Arthur Fleck about his mother, and you know, um, on the Murray Franklin show, did your mother like Murray Franklin, and is that why you went on the Franklin show and things like that? She was asking questions, and and then he starts doing his mother's voice, which is very Psycho. I think there's a couple of references to Psycho in the film. So when he does his mother's
Yeah.
voice, I think that's very Psycho. You know,
That was That was during the court scene, right?
And well, he does it again in the court scene.
Hmm.
He does something similar in the court scene, but he actually does it in the when they're filming him at the start to make sure that he's fit to do a trial. So this is the scene where he's being assessed to see whether or not he's fit to is actually mentally well enough to actually take part in the court scene.
Uh,
Yeah. So um yeah, he's all throughout this, he's kind of zoning out. So you can see that he's so traumatized that he's actually disassociated. And
uh-huh.
disassociation is actually is something that a lot of extremely traumatized people experience is disassociation.
Yeah.
So I it's so good. I feel like because I want to study psychology, I feel like from a like somebody who's really interested in psychology, I find the movie very full of really lots of truth, you know, which I respect. I respect the movie on that level, you know.
Yeah, there were definitely multiple times where, specifically in the court scenes, where he would jump straight into his Joker persona, and you'd see
Yeah,
it like unfold full front.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Um, but I feel like the Joker character only really comes out more when Lee Quinn kind of starts feeding that Joker personality a little bit. She's
Uh-huh.
feeding it. I think she's
Yeah,
feeding it. Yeah.
because she loves that
And
side of him.
yes, exactly. So she loves that side of him. And but so this is where Brendan Gleeson actually gets the Arthur Fleck into the music therapy session, and that's where they
Yeah.
spark up the romance. They initiate the romance, and the warden in the music therapy session says that Arthur Fleck has been a model patient, and so they're letting him come in, and it says we use music to make us whole, to balance the conflicting forces and fractures within ourselves. And that's kind of harkens to what I do personally as a job. I actually write music that it is actually healing.
Yeah,
And so when I
Oh,
heard that
okay.
line, I was like, this is so my bag.
my
You know what I
songs are
mean?
like that too. I've been writing songs for 35 years.
Yeah.
And
25.
yeah, same thing though. Same process, you just it is like
Yeah.
therapy,
Music is therapy.
I
That's
mean,
it.
really doing this
Yeah.
podcast is therapy.
Indeed.
That's good.
The art
That's
is
actually
therapy.
good.
What'd you say, Elijah?
That's actually inspiring to know, to look at that viewpoint of music being like therapy. I personally wouldn't know that. I haven't really I didn't really write any songs like you two did. I've always been more of like a script and like a novel guy, but like it's
Oh, I
very
do that stuff
inspiring
too.
to hear your take on that.
Yeah.
Mhm. My home life was really, really bad, and I had a lot of trauma and stuff. And music was the only thing in my life that I was good at, and that I got any sense of self worth or self esteem at. Like, and no matter how abusive the people in my life got, music was the one thing that I knew that I could do, and
Mm,
that I could be really, really good at, and
yeah.
that no one could tell me otherwise that I
I wish
wasn't
I'd been
good at
that
it.
good at me. I was really good at art, and then I started getting good at writing, but I put them aside for music for a while, and then finally I'm kind of integrated now. Like this is my studio. I can do it all in this room, so
No.
it's fun.
Yeah, I've got the same thing going on here in my lovely apartment. So thank
Wonderful,
God we have
wonderful.
our studios.
Yes.
Yeah, our
So
home studios.
so tell us further about after this or during this mental therapy musical therapy. Sorry, musical
Hmm.
therapy.
After the musical therapy, they get together and they they start talking after it. Um, and Lee Quinn, she kind of says that she saw him on the Murray Franklin show and that she was really zoned in on him particularly, and that so she let him know that she knew who he was, but all the only person she knew was Joker. Um,
Mm.
but she went on a big spiel about how she set her parents' like her parents' apartment building on fire, and how uh, her mother had her committed. So like she did four lies. She spoke four lies in like the space of 10 minutes. Of
Mm.
yeah. So she set her parents' apartment building on fire. Her mother had her committed and said she was psychotic. Her father beat the shit out of her, and her father died in a car accident. So for me to hear all of those lies was kind of triggering for me. But
It's kind of
I,
gaslighting people who actually went through it.
yeah, because I went through a lot of traumatic experiences for
Oh.
real. So to
Yeah,
see somebody lying about them kind of rubbed me up the wrong way. I'm like, ugh,
Mm,
I don't
and
like
it's
you.
it's more disturbing when you come to the realization that there are actually people like that.
hmm
Who like lie about those things. Yeah, so I guess those lies rubbed me up the wrong way. And I could tell because I'm a very astute person. I could tell there was something a bit off about her. But at the same time, uh,
Hello,
I couldn't. Oh, hey. A little cutie decided to say hello.
cat cameo.
Catio.
Nice.
Yeah, beautiful. So after these lies, they trauma bond.
Right.
They trauma bond with each other, and so Brendan Gleeson's character, Jackie Sullivan, um, gives Arthur Fleck a smoke because he comes away from meeting Harley Quinn, and he starts making a joke, and he makes a joke or whatever, poor joke, distasteful joke, and then Brendan Gleeson, Jackie gives a smoke to Arthur, and then he pats his back, and then just out of like sheer sort of power tripping, Brendan Gleeson thumps Arthur Fleck for patting him on the back for giving him a smoke. So instead of being chummy with him, he smacks him into place and kind of is like, no, like this is not the power dynamic. I'm like dominant over you, and don't you forget it. So we like reinstating the dominance hierarchy, which is kind of,
But
it's
Arthur
sad and it
transcended all that in the last movie, and it sucks that now he has to go back down the food chain.
I know, but I think that's another reason why people are so upset, because to see the Joker character then seem so low, and then for him to be put back into that situation, and I think the audience might feel very uncomfortable with feeling powerless, perhaps,
Yeah.
and empathizing with the powerlessness of Arthur Fleck's character. But I think it's hugely important that people realize that people who are mentally unwell, people who are vulnerable, are in these particular states and these particular institutions, and that they are being abused. A lot of people do get abused
Yeah.
because they're not paying members of society, because they have like people see them as a drain on society because they
Right.
don't add, so
And a lot,
therefore
most
they're
of them end up
open
homeless
to abuse.
in
Yeah,
America.
indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Horrible.
exactly why they become homeless,
hmm
because they're not yeah, because they don't have the money
Well,
to
the reason they
get the
become
medical help.
homeless is because Ronald Reagan closed mental institutions as a way of American life. So now those people, when they get to that level, once they get to a certain amount of inpatient treatment, they can't live there. Like they have to go on the streets. So basically, he turned out all these mentally ill people, and then 2 generations later, it's been perpetuated, and we have this enormous homeless population in America. It's out of control. We have more than enough
Yes.
Mhm.
empty houses, though.
And I think that's why maybe the first film was so popular, because
Yeah,
like it spoke to all the people. It riled everybody up to kind of like look at this particular problem. And it seems though I think people have missed the point that the second film is just reinforcing the first film
Okay.
from that perspective. I think it's reinforcing it, but I
All
just
right.
think it's more subtle that people don't realize because it's gone deep. Because I think the second film went a little bit deeper, even,
Yeah.
you know, And what I love is seeing Joaquin Phoenix's little laugh, his insane laugh, like yeah. So when
Yeah,
they
the
beam
disorder he
him,
has.
Hmm.
yeah, his disorder, and it's heartbreaking, it's heart wrenching to see him laughing and crying and laughing, and it's just like it's sadness
Yeah.
and it's manic, you know, and
Hmm. Is Mac.
there's a lot of pain in that laugh, and it's a magnificently done um, portrayal. It's a beautiful portrayal of somebody um, with a mental illness.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
uh, yeah, so in the lunchroom they uh, yeah, so in the lunchroom they they show Joaquin Phoenix singing a song, "For Once in My Life, Someone Who Needs Me." So you can see that he's falling in love with Harley Quinn, but he's really beautiful. We saw it in Walk the Line, him singing, and he's
Yeah.
he's a great character actor. Like he really can sing, and he sings in character, and I love it. I absolutely love it. It was fantastic. Yeah, so he's crying in the rain after that piece, and it's disturbing, but it's beautiful, and it's a mix of emotions, and you're feeling it all. And sometimes I think the audiences just don't like to feel those awkward feelings, but that's what I love about this movie
Yeah,
because
I
it
can see
doesn't
that.
shy away. It doesn't shy away from making the audience feel those weird feelings.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, he meets a terrible guy um who wants they've written a book about the Joker, and some horrible guy wants him to sign his book or whatever, and he's just like, this is going to be worth a fortune when we fry his ass. And so he was going to write something nice, but then because he said something so disturbing, he writes, I hope you get
Hope you get
cancer.
cancer.
Yeah. So like, I mean, he just mirrors. I think he just mirrors the guy's awfulness. It's
Mm.
like it's literally a direct
Yeah.
mirror of the guy he's actually talking to. So, like, it's justified. I'm watching that show on Disney at the moment called Justified, and people
Mm.
are always killing everybody in that show, but somehow it's justified.
Right.
so, so it's funny. But I love when movies aren't obvious. When you
Right.
know, um,
Yeah.
uh,
Definitely.
yeah. So then the movie brings us into how, like, the first touching moments between Harley Quinn and Joker, and they they're in the cinema, and in the state hospital cinema, and then Harley Quinn, she tries to touch his hand, but he's just not having it, probably because he's disturbed and like a little bit scared to be in love,
Mm.
which is actually quite humanizing. You can see most people are a bit terrified of love,
Well, he did
and
fall in love
especially
before to that gorgeous woman, Zazie Beats or whatever the actress's name. And but
hmm
then he
very
fantasized. Most have
beautiful.
been in his mind. You find out in the first
Yeah,
one. Yeah.
indeed. Yeah, but this is somebody who really is keen, and so
Mm.
this is scary. Probably a little bit even more scarier. It's
Oh yeah,
easier to love someone from afar in your head. It's easier to
it is.
fantasize,
Yep.
yeah, than to actually have a real life romantic relationship. So she
Exactly.
sets fire to the cinema. She sets fire to the cinema, and then they end up escaping. And then there's a beautiful. It's like it's really chaotic. It's really beautiful, and they do a sort of uh, the place goes up in flames, and they if they could all see me now. So Lady Gaga is singing a song called "If They Could All See Me Now," and it's kind of like, yeah, it's just there's sort of an ecstatic excitement of a musical, of the energy of a
Hmm.
musical, and like some people were like, why is it a musical? Oh, it's only a musical just to show that Lady Gaga can sing and all this kind of shite. That's
That
what
was
they're
what I
saying.
thought at
Whatever.
first, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, I think it really works in this because she Because I think a lot of people who are mentally unwell do escape into music to
Right.
help them because it is a therapy. So for
Oh,
it to
sure.
be a musical doesn't seem too far fetched. And
No, not
especially
really.
since, yeah, like the Joker, he sees himself as a crooner.
They've
So
portrayed him that way in the comics before, also. Like he'll go in a
a
club,
crooner
he'll sing in a crooner, and then he'll like kill everybody in the room.
in the DC comics, nice
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so basically this crooner met his match, so met his romantic match in Lady Gaga's character. And I guess, Lady Gaga, which is Gaga, which just means crazy. So like so it's not far fetched that she would play the character, in fairness. Um but and then there's a beautiful scene with a moon where Lady Gaga, it's kind of an illusionary scene where she sings against the moon, the backdrop of the moon, and it's really beautiful.
Hmm.
And they're dancing on top of the building. It's stunning. Joker wakes up. He's in his room, which looks like a cell, but he's in his room, and Lee Quince is somehow in the room with him. And she says another lie. Oh, they're sending me home. So it kind of makes him panic because she wants him to kind of panic and kind of be like, don't go, don't leave me, playing on his abandonment wounds. And then they have sad sex in the cell, and as she's painting him as the Joker. So like it's the saddest sex I've ever seen.
Wow.
But
I think I've
it's kind of
experienced
like
that before.
sad
Yikes.
yeah. But so she's making love to Joker. It's like she can only have sex with him like when his face is painted or whatever. And yeah, so now after that, then Steve Coogan makes an appearance. Steve Coogan is from a show called Alan Partridge. A lot of people in England and Ireland would know Alan Partridge a lot more. But yeah,
I know Steve Coogan, but
he
I don't know Alan Partridge.
yeah. Well, look it up. It's really funny.
Uh, that's cool.
It's his own brand of comedy. But
Hmm.
he makes a great appearance as a guy called Paddy, who's interviewing Arthur Fleck, and his job is to be a bit of an a-hole, shall we say, to rile him up to get a good interview. He's kind of trying to get a sensational interview. That's his job. To get
He's
he
like
doesn't
Wayne
care
Gale.
about Arthur Fleck
Yeah.
exactly like Dwayne Gale. Yes, he doesn't care
Yeah,
about the feeling.
Arthur himself even points it out to him that he doesn't care about him.
Yeah, he
Just
doesn't
wants
care
exploitation.
Yeah,
exactly, and he can feel it. He's clever enough to know that he's being used in that
Hmm.
moment. That's why he gets angry. And so the way they go, oh, he's angry now. Look, see, he's mad. So that's what they do. They rile people up, and then they go, look, see, he's
Yeah,
mad.
passive aggression.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting scene from that point of view. And and then he starts singing this song, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered, which is one of my favorite jazz songs
Mm.
ever. Like Ella Fitzgerald sings it, to my
Mm.
knowledge. And yeah, I actually want to learn the song myself, actually, because my father gave me that song when I was a kid to learn, but I never learned it.
Mm.
So when I watched it in the movie, I was like, well, okay, maybe it's time that I learned that song.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And Lee throws a rock into um, a television window or something. She throws a rock in at a TV shop, and she pulls the TV out and sees Arthur Fleck, sees the Joker singing "Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered," and it's kind of like a duet between the pair of them, even though
Mm.
they're not in the same room,
Mm.
which is very much how love kind of works in a way that even though you're not in the same room, you can both share the same feelings as
Sure,
each other.
sure.
You know, it's but these guys are sharing a folie à deux, hence the
Right,
name.
right. When does she become Harley Quinn as a character?
Well, I think she becomes Harley Quinn when she's kind of coming to the trials.
Hmm.
So, and the trial, he's on trial. So the next day is the trial. And
Okay.
I think she comes in to see Arthur Fleck. But she comes in, she only ever comes in to see the Joker. She doesn't come in to see Arthur Fleck. That is something that really needs to be made distinct and clear.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like the more she goes to see the Joker, the more she starts dressing up like Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And so Harvey Dent is actually the lawyer that is opposing um, Arthur Fleck. So
Hmm.
he's the opposing side. He wants to try Arthur Fleck and get him put away for the murders. And just to say that he's a narcissist, that's Arthur Dent's, Harvey Dent, sorry. Harvey Dent's case is that he's actually a narcissist, a psychopath, and that we shouldn't feel sorry for him. And the, the other side is saying that he's got this split personality and like empathize with him. And Harvey Dent is saying, don't empathize with him. He's a cold blooded killer.
Right. Right.
That's his case.
Hmm.
And fair enough. You could make either case, but that's
Yeah.
the job,
Yeah.
you know. And so on the stand um we have the original uh lady, the neighbor that you were mentioning a minute ago.
Zazie. Yeah.
That yes.
I forgot her character
His
name.
neighbor comes in. Um Sophie. Sophie is the neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah. And she comes in and they read out her diary. We read out the Joker's diary as well. And it's just kind of talking about how he only ever has imaginary girlfriends, pretty much. So that's they're making fun of him for
Yeah.
having imaginary girlfriends. And they're taking his jokes out of context. And he's trying to say, oh, don't read my diary because it's personal to me. And the judge is like, look, you killed 5 people. We're reading your diary. It's evidence.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
We, I think fair enough. I think the judge
Hmm.
was fair, you know.
Most deaf.
Yeah. So the first part one in the case in the court scene does not go very well, and Lee Quinn says tries to get the lawyer kind of like struck off so that the Joker can represent himself pretty much. So
Hmm.
Lee Quinn is like, you're like you're not representing very well. You're making him look like a fool. And then Margaret looks into Lee Quinn and tells the Joker, or tells Arthur Fleck, she talks directly to Arthur Fleck's soul and says, she's lying to you. Don't listen to this woman. Do you know that actually she's actually a trained psychologist and that her parents are rich and they're alive? What are you doing? This woman is lying to you. So she's actually probably his only friend in the whole film, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harley's
So
grifting on
Yeah.
him.
yeah, she's using him
Hmm.
to get famous, and she's doing interviews about him and about their love, and she's using him
Now, do you
pretty much.
believe that in her heart, Harley, at her craziest, loved the Joker part of him for sincerely? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think she was fascinated. I think it's a sort of a psychotic fascination.
He was in love with her, though.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
see that. I can see that, and that's the tough part of it. Like
Yeah.
because that happens in real life too, where they like sometimes men fall prey to the shadow feminine who uses the masculine for whatever egotistical reasons, and I think that is a kind of insanity. That is a kind of insanity. So from that perspective, Harley Quinn is mad.
Mhm.
She is mad because she's doing that. You'd want to be mad to be doing that,
Mhm.
because there's karma attached to that kind of behavior
Yeah,
as
most
well.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah. um. So yeah, then it kind of interslices between uh real moments and sort of delusional moments that the pair of them share together of musical sort of hit bits where it goes into a 70s TV show, and the lead character um shoots Arthur Fleck because they're singing together like side by side, and that's such like a dream sequence. It's kind of Jungian to have her shoot him in the dream sequence, and it's kind of like a shooting. It's kind of like she's betrayed him. She's
Mm.
betraying him, because she lied to him or
He
whatever.
needs to wake
So
up.
yeah, he
Yeah.
needs to wake up. Well said.
I haven't even
He
seen
needs
the
to wake up.
movie.
Yeah. And then afterwards, she comes to him and sings. She tries to plead, like, don't listen to Margaret, even though she's her friend. Listen to me. I'm the one who gets you and stuff, and you're the one. Represent yourself, and all this stuff, kind of like leading them down a wrong path or whatever. And but yeah, there's a really cool scene where she smears lipstick on the glass and it's like a smiley face, and then Joaquin Phoenix just brings his mouth into the smile, and it's like really cool, really beautifully shot. I really enjoyed that. And then it goes back to the trial. I I may be doing this in a particularly insane fashion.
I do want to say
Yeah,
the court scenes probably have like maybe 3 or 4 parts. It is kind of weird.
yeah, yeah. I think there's three parts to it, but I only noted two parts, but I think there was three parts. But yeah,
Yeah.
but in one part of it anyway, I think I remember them mentioning that the mother used to mock uh in Margaret made a case that this is the bit that I forgot actually that was very important, but that his mother used to mock him
Arthur.
and
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
his mother used to mock Arthur and called his laugh a stupid laugh and a dumb laugh. He called it a dumb laugh.
His
And
mother wasn't truly insane in the first movie.
yeah, yeah, his mother
Yeah.
was so abusive that when he put the pillow over her face, everybody was cheering. Like that's how mad his mother is.
I,
That
I
like they were like, yeah,
I do think that with the message of this first movie, one of the many, uh um I do believe Thomas Wayne had his way with her at some point. I just don't believe that Thomas Wayne was his father. But I have no doubt that Thomas Wayne molested her when she was a servant. And the kind of person they portrayed him as. He was
mm-hmm.
vile, very vile.
Yeah.
So, do they have more musical
Oh,
numbers?
oh yeah, there's
It did have
oh
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a violent, there's loads of them, but like there's loads of musical scenes. But there's a violent one in the court scene, and they dance it where Joker is coming into himself, and he's dancing on the table. Lady Gaga's dancing on the table, and the Joker is beating the judge to death, and like Lady Gaga takes some paint and smears a smile on her face, and it's really artfully done, very cool. I really enjoyed that particular dance number.
Now,
The
is all that
courtroom
really
one.
happening or not really happening?
No, it's not. It's happening inside of the Joker's head.
Gotcha.
That's what I
Hmm.
think. It's kind of like now I'm Joker.
Right,
Smack
right.
it. The Harley Quinn says you can do anything you want. You're the Joker. So like then he really snaps into that. So that was what she says
Mhm.
to make him really snap into it. Like Pavlov's dog type vibe,
All right.
Uh,
Just trying to bring the
yeah,
Joker out,
indeed.
lure him
And
out.
so exactly, bring him out, and because it's what the masses want, it's what the TV wants, it's what the show wants,
Mhm.
and then in another part of the trial, Gary Puddles comes out, a character like the small clown, dwarf clown from the first movie, and he was a friend of Arthur Fleck's, and Arthur Fleck stood up for Gary Puddles, and um, so they had a quite a touching relationship in the first film. But then he kind of says how watching him beat his boss to death in front of him kind of traumatized the ever living
Yeah.
shite out of him.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, you don't realize how like your violence. You went too far, and you really upset me, man.
Yeah, Arthur was in Joker mode in that scene in the first movie. He he
Yeah.
he just let the guy go because he was his friend, but He had no concern whatsoever about his feelings.
Yeah.
It was just riding high.
But yeah, like you could see then that how the shadow comes out because he was like, but he deserved it. Like, because he underestimated me, and like a lot of people who get abused to the point of madness are like, you know, bring up that point that, like, that because they were disempowered by someone else, that they had to take their power back. But people forget that that's probably not the best way of taking your power back, you know.
Yeah, because it could go to delusions of grandeur.
I'm sure they underestimated him, but not in that way. I mean, like, do you really want to be a really amazing killer? Is that what you want to be known for? Is that the underestimating
Well,
factor
that's a
here?
question the first movie ends with, and I feel like I've read some criticism against the movie that it doesn't answer this question very well. How do you feel about that? Coming into his own as the Joker, do you feel like that's truly happened? It sounds like in this movie he's
No, he didn't. No, you see, the thing is that is, but it's a well known fallacy that a lot of people buy into.
Mhm.
Is the fact that is empowerment, coming into your own as as a villain. It isn't necessarily actually empowerment.
uh whether you're saying everything you're saying is right, but that's the movie has to answer the question because this is an iconic fictional character. Uh, does he choose this path permanently like the Joker did in the comic books and in other media? And from what I understand, he does not.
No, he snaps, and that's what
He
makes
he
Harley
doesn't.
Quinn. He
Okay.
snaps. He snaps and says, I take accountability. I did it. I did all the murders and all the things or whatever." And so that's why they come to the conclusion that he murdered them, because he admitted to it. He pretty
Mm.
much admitted it. Yeah, and then that's why Harley Quinn's character gets really pissed off at the Joker, because he decides to break character and actually take responsibility for what he did. You know,
Mm.
um. So it's kind of cool that he did that, but then at the same time, I don't know, but it reveals the madness more, I guess, from that perspective.
Mm.
And then just as they're doing the rulings, the place gets blown up, and then
Mm.
he escapes for a little bit, and then Joker type characters take him on board, take him into a car. They're like, because Joker is an archetype, so there's like it's a street full of Jokers,
Yeah, these people
because
have been waiting
that's
for him to get out.
yeah,
He's their
exactly.
icon.
Their hero, exactly. But somehow he manages to get back into the hospital again, and then it looks like perhaps he might be striking up a relationship with Harley Quinn again. We don't know,
Yeah.
yes or no, whether that's true or not. I think not really. I think he thinks he is, but
He
I
still
don't
has
think that's going to
feelings for
happen.
her.
Yeah, because he's probably ironically the most innocent out of the pair of them.
Yeah, and
Um,
if he's really in love with her, I mean, even if he's told that she's a liar, it's going to take him a while to not be in love with her.
yeah, for real. Yeah,
Coming from one who knows.
yeah, I get it.
And
Yeah,
these strange love
some of those,
stories, you never know what'll happen. So
yeah, they're intense.
what is his path then?
But then he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed by another character in the hospital who is quite clearly insane, and who draws a Chelsea smile on his own face with a
Mm,
knife.
Did you
mhm.
So
hear the
there's a
theory
hint.
about that?
Yeah, go for it. You say,
Mhm.
Elijah.
Yeah, go ahead, Lodge.
So the theory on that is I actually didn't catch this when I first saw it in the theater. But you can hear him carving like his cheeks open, almost implying that that's supposed to be Heath Ledger's character.
Yeah, he's kind of, I
Oh,
mean, because you're looking at it from the point of view of, uh, first of all, Joaquin is playing a character at least 10 years younger than he really is.
Mhm.
Second of all, that's the only way it could be plausible for what happened in the first movie. And even that's stretching it, being a half brother of Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne was 10 when he was 30. By the time Bruce Wayne becomes 30 and he's Batman, Joker's going to be my age. He's still going to be awesome, obviously, like I am. But I mean, he's not going to be a spry. He might have a cane with some like blades in it. And so the theory is that the Bruce Wayne we see in the first movie, the 10-year-old kid who grows up to be Batman, will end up fighting that guy. You know, is that how you read it, Elijah?
Yes, that is actually how I see it a bit.
Okay, it
Hmm.
sounds a little, it's a little Gotham, and the TV series Gotham, because they in
Yeah.
that when they teased you with the Joker too, they didn't really give you the real Joker. So
Hmm.
it's kind of what I'm getting the point period is that this will be obviously it's not going to tie in with the Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, because those aren't connected to this anymore. But
Hmm.
maybe when Robert Pattinson, encounters Barry Keoghan or whatever, maybe it allude to that, that he was influenced by someone else as part of a bigger ideology, but he took it to a much
Yeah.
further path, So, and this is an interesting thing. I mean, and one part of me is very disappointed because I felt the end of the first movie, Gotham should burn, eat the rich, and the Joker can party all the time. Well, his disciples and right and wrong have gone out the window, but what it's done is it's
Mhm.
created Batman, which is what I loved about the first movie is that if you're a comic book fan, you approach it all kinds of different ways, but I'm not a fan, bro. So I don't approach it in these predictable reactionary ways. Because first of all, I know the material way better than they do. I've read so many Batman comics, I'm gonna explode. And
Yeah.
I've seen all the movies. And so to me, the first movie did the most brilliant thing that no one had ever thought to do. And I think they could only do it now because it's the climate society is in, which is that no,
Yes.
the rich are not noble heroes. So the underclass breeds an anti-hero. And Thomas
Uh-huh.
Wayne, gets his because he's a billionaire, and everybody cheers. And that's kind of what a lot of people want to have happen in the West right now. A
Yeah,
lot.
I know that's probably why they people got angry with the second movie or whatever, and not leaving it on the first, because that was kind of the energy of the first movie. But if you want to watch the first movie again, you can. But it's kind
Yeah.
of,
I
you know
mean,
what
I
I
mean
mean?
that's
If you
there's
want to
nothing
watch it,
wrong with
it made
going
the
in.
point.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
It
going
made
in
the
a
point
different
in the first one.
direction. Yeah. Very,
You know,
very interesting.
that that's what I think, because like, and yeah, I just think that like
So
if you
so
want to
what
watch it
let's
again.
touch on the love subject before we wrap up. Uh do you think after he died or as he died, I mean, do you get the feeling that uh Harleen Quinzel really had any feelings for him at all left, or she just doesn't give a damn because he's not really the Joker? Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
I I don't think she cared. I don't really think she cared that much about him. I think she only cared about the Joker.
Because that is also flipping the mythology around. Because in the mythology, Joker has this woman on his string, and she does everything for him, and she becomes a psychopath. And after the live action ones came out with Suicide Squad, um, then the way currents are in society moving, it was seen as uh, triggering and gauche and very pearl clutching to imply that the Joker would keep this woman under his thumb. It's extremely anti-feminist, extreme saying the insane person, getting laid and has a slave. Um, so then they go and they make a whole movie. I don't know well, I hated the movie, but I couldn't finish it. But the whole title of the movie, The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. And that is pushing at the fans that are saying you got to portray Harley as an empowered woman. You got to say that she doesn't need the Joker because she is a badass in the first Suicide Squad, but she's totally codependent on him, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
sleaziest version of the Joker that's ever been on screen. I mean, like
Hmm.
oozing sleaze. He's like uber
Mm-hmm.
juggle.
Yes.
He's like an uber juggalo psycho. He's a one man insane clown posse, and that's on purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that, but I get but I think they tried to flip it around and make her a more empowered character, and so it's interesting to see a movie where she does transcend the Joker, as in the DCEU movies, but she transcends the Joker because she doesn't really care, and the Joker fails and isn't really the Joker. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
it kind of like deflates that whole thing in Birds of Prey movie. Like, yeah, Harley's emancipated. Fuck the Joker, But that's predicated on the idea that she was truly in love with him. She was like his slave, and that Joker achieved that path of just total evil. Whereas I guess Arthur Fleck did not, and that disappointed. Maybe Harley Quinn will find the guy with the carved cheeks in a few years.
I don't know.
Right.
Perhaps
I
anything's
did want
possible
to
with the
add.
art.
I did want to add to your
Yes, I
question
want your thoughts.
on whether. I did want to add to your really important question on whether or not Harley could have cared about him even after his stabbing. There is a slight detail that actually occurs right before he gets stabbed. There's a mysterious person who comes to visit him at the prison, and it's never answered who that person is.
Hmm,
Hmm.
that's weird.
Yeah, so it kind of leaves the question afloat.
You mean it's
Well,
it's
that's
so
kind of good though.
it's so mysterious that it could have been her?
It, I want to say it could have either been her or what was the name of that short guy? I forgot his
Oh,
name.
the short, yeah, right.
Puddles,
Oh.
Mr.
Yeah,
Puddles.
Puddles. I want to say it either could have been her or Mr. Puddles.
So
Or
see,
it could have been Margaret.
if I were writing it, I would have it be Zazie. Zazie would come visit him, and they'd have conjugal sex, and Arthur would have one of his fantasies realized before somebody shanks him to death. Because Zazie was the bomb in Deadpool, Deadpool 2. Um, so any other conclusions, Rhiannon, and we will wrap up for this episode.
My conclusion is that it's actually a better film than the media would have had me believe had I had fallen under the trap of listening to them.
Mm, very good.
So,
Very
and
good.
I enjoyed making up my own mind about the film.
Mm.
Yeah.
Did you go away with a positive on this, a net positive on this, Elijah?
So, me personally, I thought the movie was okay. I didn't, I didn't really loathe it like a lot of people did. I have a friend who saw it opening night with me. He absolutely loves it, and um, actually rephrases the soundtrack. He's actually been memorizing the soundtrack. Me personally, I do like a lot of the points that Rhiannon brought up. Um, especially like with music almost being therapeutic.
Yeah. See, we're yeah yeah
I thought it
we're
was
we're boldly going where no one other podcasts on movies go.
yeah,
Mhm.
I thought it was an okay film. It was all right. I didn't hate it. There were definitely elements that I thought stood out, like the performances. I didn't have a problem with them. I didn't know Joaquin Phoenix could sing before this movie, so that was a plus.
Yeah,
Um,
he was good in Walk the Line. Reese
yes.
Witherspoon. Reese Witherspoon was incredible in Walk the Line.
Totally.
Amazing
Love her.
actress. So
Love
yes,
her.
let's wrap up for now, and let's. What do you got to say to the audience, Elijah? You were telling me earlier you had a concern you wanted to share with them.
Like, comment, subscribe always.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Help us out. Thanks so much for
Ring the
watching.
bell
Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Take care.
always.
And it's true that we cannot see that far behind. If we looked all the way in the past, we'd go blind. In the night, from the stars as they've all lived their lives, and the light that they gave as they burned and then died.